They reinstate and keep enforcing that. Because like the military, the uniform, clothes that a person wears supposed to represent themselves, supposed to say something about them. And in those type of situations, to me, a person should put on their best face that they can.
Sure.
Now, one last thing, I'm going to let you go because I have a number on him. I just want to hit on Grandma Hillary and on Bill.
Oh, yes.
Hillary, with her time in office, her thing came up with, what was it? The embassy. What did she do? Nothing.
That's right.
Bill Clinton, his thing in office came up was Rwanda. What did he do? Let a lot of people get killed. So the same thing. That was off of my book to start with. Because my point being, of course, a leader is supposed to be one who takes out and takes the forefront.
That's
if
right.
everybody says no, and he sees that it needs to be done, and it's in the correct mode, step out. Don't be afraid. And that's what I think President Trump is trying to do, or doing. And I appreciate it. Just the other day, last night, I seen him come out around a young Afro-centric person, and I was so proud to see that. The gentleman smile, Mr. Trump, a presidential smile, and undercut, very good personal smile.
Right.
So there was nothing like that.
Absolutely. I agree with you, my friend. And I appreciate your fine comments. You have a great weekend.
Let me say one more thing. Now, I'm getting ready to get in some trouble, so I want you to cut me off as soon as I see it.
Well, you've done great so far.
Okay, all right, here I go. This Black Lives Matter thing, put it in the trash can as far as I'm concerned. Because, number one, because you say Black Lives Matter, that doesn't nullify one's responsibility for their actions. It does not nullify consequences. It does not nullify repercussions. It does not nullify one making their own choices. It does not nullify how one educates themselves. And it certainly does not nullify how mama, papa, daddy, whoever raise them at home to conduct themselves when they leave that home door.
Why would they put you in trouble, my friend? I agree with that. As a matter of fact, I'm saying this, and I said there's only one race anyway. I'm not going to call myself a color. I'm not. Like I said, God made me this. My mother is white in color. My dad is shade of tan.
That doesn't matter. I hear what you're saying. I don't like you talking about you a shade of tan. Go ahead and talk, though, but go ahead.
That's right. And so I'm actually at, golden, fair skin, the color of God's own sunshine. But my concept is this. If your life actually mattered, you wouldn't need a sign. If you'd know by the fruit what was going on, you wouldn't need a sign.
Well, yes, because you kind of try, your conscious mind trying to go in. What I'm saying, though, young lieutenant, young captain, is that your actions.
That's right.
Speaks louder than words.
Yes.
Your color is just something that's attached to you because of none of your doing, or not you know me personalized. Yeah. None of the individuals doing, him or her. That something was did up on them by birth. They have no choice in that. That should be not. And I understand what a lot of individuals are trying to say, but a lot of individuals, low information individuals, their mentality will take that as if, I'm free to do what I want to do. Mama stand up out there, daddy stand out there, and make this big, how can I say, give me this big propaganda front that's this and I was that. When in actuality, I'm just a person standing in the street at the last moment, facing a man who's fearful, who's got a call on the radio, throwing my hands up at him now, and he done pulled the trigger. It's too late.
That's exactly right. But again, like I said, it's all based on the content and character and not the color of your skin. Somewhere I heard that before, my friend, but
I knew you did. And I think that comes from Martin, and it comes from Eldridge, and it comes from Malcolm X.
That's exact. Johnny, I appreciate you, my friend. You're right on all accounts. You have a great good weekend. Appreciate the comments.
All right, then, sir. And thank you very much for letting me say that to you. And thank you very much for being a supporter of our president.
Yes, sir.
Everyone's president, Mr. Donald Trump. Everyone.
Make America great
Obama,
again.
Mr. Obama had his calling. He was anointed by one of the Kennedys. I mean, I can go to them. But, hey, his calling is over. He was even further anointed by giving him the Nobel Peace Prize for what? Because you say you have to since you become the president. No. That makes it useless.
That's right. That's exactly. You're right.
So you understand what I'm saying? I'm not downgrading the individual man, but hey, me and you both know, because being in the military a little bit, that there's things going behind doors that the public is not privy to. And blessed and wonderful for the president jumping on the media. I was there during the 60s, and I was there during the 50s, and hey, the meter has always been boo, boo, boo.
Got that right. Have a great weekend, my friend. Appreciate your comments. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. Have a good weekend. And we'll be right back after these messages. Listen to the Dave Taylor program with super duper producer Kevin and with Bex here on News Talk 640 WFNC. We'll be right back.
Now, the Dave Taylor Show continues. You can reach Dave by calling 864-6400, 1-888-308-0640.
And also star 640 on your cell phone or any other communications device that you have. Of course, it's courtesy of Cumulus and WFNC. Many that we don't pay a single penny a dime for that. Welcome back, everybody. Get your humble alpha host here, Dr. Dave, and entry calls with super duper producer Kevin. And who's going to be doing that 2 weeks from today is Bex over there in the shadow of the thespian. Super duper producer Kevin here today as he goes about making it happen there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about, not very long, of course, but Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton. I got her first book that didn't sell much. It goes through a progression that when you have a book that's just been published, it goes to the major outlets. Of course, you have book signings and those sorts of things, and it costs like, $35-$40. When it does not sell, it ultimately gets reduced down to, the store, since they don't actually advertise with us, but where everything there is 1 penny more than 99 cents. Well, I happened to come in there one day, the edition of that particular store in Fayetteville. I saw it, and I haven't read it, but I got it. It's a pretty thick book, but again, it was not selling, so it goes down from the high class, or high priced anyway, bookstores all the way down, so I got it for 1 penny more than 99 cents, and there's nothing in it. And now she's coming out with another one. That's right. For those of you who missed that first scintillating tome, Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton's coming the second book, this time talking about the 2016 election and why she got her buttocks spanked, which is quite interesting because she doesn't get her buttocks spanked at home. But there is another book coming out, so it's going to be the same thing. And ladies and gentlemen, I guess she just can't give it up being a glutton for punishment. She knows that her political career is over. She's not even an advisor to individuals whose IQ is greater than that of a large steaming bowl of lukewarm monkey vomit. But she's coming up with another book, Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, talking about why she thought she lost. Some of it because she didn't have a message, she was the wrong candidate, and she worked against somebody who was a success in business and had a wider known name and had a much better campaign. I'm not sure that's going to be captured in this book, but she's coming out with the one, Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton. And so, why do we go through these machinations every campaign season? And like I told you about those who use these polls as news, saying that, anything with the margin of error, it cannot be news by definition. If you admit that it has a margin of error, then how can you call that news? And I went back to the analogy that if your doctor told you that, it's a great potential that you need to have surgery, and like I said, the success will be plus or minus at 5%. That's not the doctor that you would go to. So what we have here is something which is extraordinary. But again, the Democrats, ladies and gentlemen, just listen to me carefully. And you just have to go with me, and they should know me now for quite a while. The Democrats, quite frankly, they are evil. They are pro-death. They say it's okay to murder your babies. They are not in any way supportive of equal rights. They're trying to have different folks, different groups say they're better than others. It's all about the identity politics to the Democrats. And remember historically that the Democrats had majorities in both the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate back in 64, 65, 66, and yet they needed Republicans to get on board because the Democrats wanted for those who were shaded tan to have the right to vote or to have civil rights. And so I'm talking about the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It was the Republicans who had a specific plan for reparations to former slaves, William Tecumseh Sherman. It was called 40 acres. And every freed, as it said in the order, every black person was to get 40 acres of tillable land. That's land that you could actually use to grow stuff on. And not like, for example, Princeville, which is where a lot of the former slaves went here in North Carolina, but every time it floods them out there. And they've had that happen again here in Hurricane Matthew. But that was actually rescinded. That Special Order 15 was rescinded by the president who succeeded Abraham Lincoln after Abraham Lincoln assumed a permanent horizontal statue that he was killed by an actor. And then Andrew Johnson from Raleigh, North Carolina, rescinded that order. I want to talk about class. Now, remember talking about the democracy you had in Athens and Sparta, and they almost spoke to Rice on be careful, Athenian or Spartans. But the Athenian Oath was recited by the citizens of Athens, Greece, over 2,000 years ago. It's frequently referenced by civic leaders in modern times as a timeless code of civic responsibility. So here's the Athenian Oath. We will never bring disgrace on this our city by an act of dishonesty or cowardice. We will fight for the ideals and sacred things of the city, both alone and with many. We will revere and obey the city's laws, and will do our best to incite a like reverence and respect in those above us who are prone to annul them or set them at naught. We will strive unceasingly to quicken the public's sense of civic duty. Thus, in all these ways, we will transmit this city not less, but greater and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. And that's the Athenian Oath in one of the areas where democracy was practiced. Again, we're talking about the city-states. You had Sparta, you had Athens, you had the Florence city-state, which was home of my BFF, Niccolo Machiavelli. But they actually believed in it. Do you think everybody will be able to pass that oath with reference to Americans today? But that's how things were back in those days, but we have gotten so far away from that. You have gotten folks here who openly resist and say that the president is not their president. They go out there and do these things, and it's not in the smallest amount of conscience of them to believe anything else. It's all about them. It's not about the city, the state, the country. It's all about them and their pathetic little efforts to go out there and countermand what the will of the people said. And remember how many of those flaming liberal chuckleheads said that if President Donald John Trump if candidate Donald Trump became President Donald Trump, they'd leave the country? Well, they're still here, ladies and gentlemen. They're still on the downstream media talk shows that they're on before. They have not left the country. There's all a bunch of woofing, which in a way places them in the same categories as Republicans who said for 8 years that their plan was to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, when in fact they had no intention of doing so. And there was evidence, not just 3 though, but like I said, and one of them was always needed to bring it to 50-50 and then have the Vice President Mike Pence break the stalemate. But these folks are going out there, and that's why it's so imperative that before you go out, you listen to the Word of God to get your basis of spirituality grounded before you listen to all that noise that's out there right now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the folks out there are interested in their own sakes, their own souls. They're not concerned about others at all. And if you out there are looking for someone other than yourself to look out for you, then unfortunately you're sadly mistaken. We put God first. We do what we can while we can. But in the meantime, make sure that we include a portion to give thanks to God for all that He has done for us. And that's something too, because we need to pray for the folks in Washington. The Republicans seem to act like if they do something that the downstream media is not determined to be popular, that they'll be criticized for it. Let them criticize. My gosh. Pretend that you have some cojones and not garden peas in your BVDs. Go out and do what is right. Lead by example. And let your record show, and let the content of your character show what this constitutional republic is all about. Like I said, if you need a sign to show that your life matters, then you don't have any character. That if you had character and respect and honor when you go out, people will talk